Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future home buyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 2011280L. Call for additional details.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley, and Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is his availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this, they lob it to him, he taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach in college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3, he's done his part.
Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees aren't even close to the best organization in baseball.
They're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and we got Super Wildcard Weekend this weekend as we got 6 teams playing in the wildcard round. You got the Giants there for the first time since 2016. You got a great matchup between the Bucs and Cowboys. You got a divisional matchup between the Niners and the Seahawks. You got 2 divisional matchups in the AFC between the Bills and Dolphins and the Ravens and the Bengals. And then you got an interesting matchup in the AFC with 2 of the top young quarterbacks in the league with Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. But we got to start with my Giants, who are in the playoffs for the first time in 6 years. The Giants and Vikings, they face off with each other. The Vikings come in at 13-4. They were 11-0 in one-score games this year. The Giants, they've had a very surprising season. Brian Daboll has done an outstanding job with this Giants team. The Giants are 9-7-1 coming into the game, and this is a rematch of a Week 15 matchup between these 2 teams, which was a really good game. A game that the Giants, in my opinion, should have won. I mean, a game that if it wasn't for the Daniel Bellinger fumble in the second quarter and for the block punt in that game, the Giants would have won that game. The game was decided on a 61-yard field goal. So in this game, I think this is going to be a really, really close competitive game. I think Daniel Jones is going to have another really good game, and he's going to have another good game through the air. I think Saquon Barkley is going to be pretty good as well, even though the Vikings are better against the run than they are against the pass. And I do think the Vikings will move the ball. But I think in this game, the difference is going to be the Giants are really going to focus on containing Justin Jefferson. I think they'll take their chances with Dalvin Cook. And the Vikings might move the ball, but I think what they're going to do in this game is they're going to contain Justin Jefferson. TJ Hockenson might have another big game, and Dalvin Cook might have a good game too. But I think the Giants limit the production from Justin Jefferson. I think that the difference in this game is I think when the Giants get into the red zone, they score touchdowns, and the Vikings will kick field goals. And that's why at the end of the day, I got the Giants winning their first playoff game since they won the Super Bowl back in 2011 against the Patriots. I got the Giants getting revenge on the Vikings from Week 15, beating the Vikings 24-23. But Justin, can Kirk Cousins get his second playoff win?
I get the Giants as well, getting the road upset 20-23. For Cousins, that offense, I think they're going to move the ball. The Giants secondary at times has had their issues. And yeah, as you mentioned, Jefferson and Hockenson had, they torched him the first time around. I think, he'll be able to, Cousins will be able to spread the ball around, and that Vikings offense should be able to move the football against the Giants. But yeah, I think it comes down to a Kirk Cousins turnover. Both these teams are really good at knowing how to close out games. They've both are, had two of the best records in one-score games. But I think the Giants stopped the run enough in this one, and Cousins makes has show, he'll make that like a one big interception that he shouldn't throw or something like that. And the Vikings get held to a couple field goals in the red zone. Giants are able to capitalize off some touchdowns, and I think the Giants find a way to win this game on the road.
Yeah, you talked about the one-score games. That's the storyline. The Vikings, as I said earlier, 11-0 in one-score games. The Giants 8-4-1, and that's counting that Dallas game on Thanksgiving where they scored a garbage time touchdown with a one-score game. It's really 8-3-1 in one-score games. So these teams have been phenomenal in one-score games. They played against each other, and that was a one-score game. So I think this game is definitely coming down to the wire. But yeah, I think in this game you take the quarterback that's going to make less mistakes. And Daniel Jones has just not made a ton of mistakes this year. He only has 5 interceptions. I think 8 total turnovers all year. Kirk Cousins, he's thrown 14 interceptions. So Kirk Cousins is definitely the mistake-prone quarterback. And I think an underrated thing people aren't talking about in this game is that Brian O'Neill, the Vikings tackle, he's out. I think Ojulari and Thibodeau are going to get pressure on, especially in the red zone. So they might force a mistake or force the Vikings to kick a field goal when they get down into the red zone. So I think the Giants are going to get more pressure on Kirk Cousins and the Vikings will on Daniel Jones. So I think it's going to come down to the quarterback that makes less mistakes, and I think it's going to be the Giants quarterback. I think it's going to be Daniel Jones, and I think the series is going to come out victorious. This is the matchup every Giant fan wanted when they lost that game on Christmas Eve. This is the matchup the Giants fans wanted. They did not want to see San Francisco. They wanted to see Minnesota, and they got that matchup.
Yeah. They absolutely didn't. You mentioned Daniel Jones and the turnovers this year. Yeah, the Giants only had 16 all year, and that was the second fewest in the league. In the last couple of years, the Giants have been up there for the most prone kind of turnover teams in the league. So, yeah, Daniel Jones and the rest of the offense has done a really good job of protecting the football this year. And yeah, I think that kind of it'll come down to that. The Vikings have 23 turnovers on the year, and yeah, I think for Cousins, at times he's made some bad throws. I know that's kind of been, again, like Kirk Cousins has been a guy that at times will look like an MVP, and at times it looks like he should be on the bench. It's just, he's been a very up and down quarterback. But yeah, the way Daniel Jones protect the football this year, and yeah, the Giants, that D rush is really starting to come on, especially Thibodeau towards the end of the season. Yeah, I think that could make a huge difference in this game and how the Giants win this one.
Absolutely. Another big thing in this game is that Kirk Cousins is under more pressure to win this game than anyone else. Kevin O'Connell, he's not under a ton of pressure because it's year one. Obviously, with the Giants, Brian Dable, he's not under a ton of pressure first year, and in his first year, they got to the playoffs. Daniel Jones, it looks like he's going to be back as the starting quarterback. But the player who's under the most pressure is Kirk Cousins. If he can't win this game, that would mean that the Vikings would only have one playoff win in the 5 years that they signed him. And then Viking fans will really doubt, is Kirk Cousins the guy that can lead us in the playoffs? If he loses this game, if Cousins doesn't win this game, there's going to be a lot of Viking fans are going to doubt if he can lead this team to a Super Bowl. Yeah.
And, again, it kind of goes both ways because, for Cousins, they have a pretty good offense. Like, they got enough offensive weapons where you could throw a lot of quarterbacks in this league, and there's a good chance that, they could lead you to a Super Bowl. I know the defense is not great for him, but yeah, you got Jefferson, you got Adam Thielen still, TJ Hawkinson, Dalvin Cook. That's one of the better backs in the league. So the Vikings have plenty of offensive talent. So yeah, it is a fair question to think, if Cousins comes out here and they cannot find a way to win this football game, that yeah, you kind of question it. He's under contract for another year or two for like $35 million, I think it is. So, I don't know what the whole situation with the cap hit and all that, or, would somebody take that on a trade? But yeah, it definitely be warranted because, yeah, again, that offense has enough talent for him to go out there and get them the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. And I know the defense isn't good, but in 2022, it's still a defense that can get you far. It's still a defense that can get your car. They have some players on it. They got Danielle Hunter. They got Zadarius Smith. Patrick Peterson has had a good year. So the defense isn't good, but it's not absolutely terrible that you can't make a run to the Super Bowl with it. And looking at the Giants, pretty much, everything from here on out is gravy. I mean, because, they really did not have a ton expected of them this year. The biggest thing is no matter what happens in the playoffs, I think one thing they know is they got their head coach of the future, they got their GM of the future, and I think they got their quarterback of the future.
Yeah, Jones has played well this year, and I know that story came out a couple weeks ago about Taylor, and he was making it pretty tough for Daniel Jones this offseason to kind of try to kind of see what his mental toughness was, and it seems like he's come off that pretty good, and he's kind of exceeded the challenge this year. Because and again, for all the guys that they've had hurt too this year at wide receiver, he's played really well, and they give him a chance here in the playoffs. Yeah, I think he's a guy that under Brian Dable and what you've been able to see, I think Dable too could continue to kind of mold them into the type of guy he wants and continue to kind of evolve Daniel Jones and kind of progress him through his career. And yeah, Jones this year, you mentioned the turnovers too have been way down this year. And yeah, I think, right now, I think for the Giants, I think, sticking with Daniel Jones is probably the best option where you're going to sit in the draft. And even really for free agency, I think Daniel Jones, is right now the best choice.
Absolutely. He's absolutely the best choice. And I think your franchise Saquon Barkley. I think you go with those two guys moving forward.
Yeah, Barkley too has had a great bounce back year, and that contract year too, he's really kind of showed it. He's looked like the guy you kind of saw his rookie year, the days back at Penn State. Like he looks fresh, and he looks like a guy that hasn't been totally healthy the last couple of years, and you could see that he's pretty fresh right now, or he's been fresh, pretty much all year. So yeah, I think for the Giants to get those two guys back, it's huge for the future.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Now we will move on to a huge game on Monday night as the Cowboys travel to Tampa to face Tom Brady and the Bucs. And I don't like how either team is going into this game. I think the Cowboys' performance in Week 18 was absolutely pathetic against the Commanders. I thought they looked horrible. I think Dak Prescott looked absolutely terrible. I thought he really hasn't looked that good all season long. He has thrown a pick in his last 7 games. Dak has thrown a pick in his last 7 games. And the Cowboys have not looked great. Even though their record is 12-5, the Cowboys are not going into this game looking that good. And then you look at the Bucs, and the Bucs did win 2 straight. But they should have lost to the Cardinals. And then the game against the Panthers, yeah, Brady and Evans looked good, but they also only won that game by 6 points. And last week, they had no business resting their starters in that game. 0 business resting their starters with the way they have played this year. Those starters should have been playing the entire game against the Falcons. I don't care if someone gets hurt. This is not a team that was going to the playoff that's going to the playoffs and had the right to rest starters. They had 0 right to rest starters last week. But for this game on Monday night, this was a brutal, brutal game to pick. But I just don't trust Dak Prescott right now, and I think he's gonna throw a big interception in this game, which is gonna lead to points for Tampa. I think Brady throws a bad interception too. I think this game is close the entire way. I think both teams run the ball pretty well, but not great. I think both quarterbacks make a mistake in this game, but I think this game comes right down to the end where the score is tied up, and you know who has the ball. Tom Brady has the ball, and this year the one thing about Tom Brady is yes, he is not as good he has not played as good this season. He definitely is not an elite quarterback anymore. But if you look at 2 of the wins the Bucs had, the win against the Rams and the win against the Saints, he brought that team back late in the game. And he also brought the team back. He also drove the team on a late game score against the Packers. And even though they lost, they didn't get the 2-point conversion. And he did lead them to a comeback against the Cardinals. So he has been good late in games. But overall, he's not had a great year. His age is starting to show. But in this spot, with the way Dak and the Cowboys are playing, and I think that Tom Brady gets it done at home. I think he wins this game at home. And I got the Bucs beating the Cowboys 23-20 on Monday night. But, Justin, can Dak lead the Cowboys to their first playoff win in 4 years?
No, I get the Bucs as well, 20-16. See Hector's comment there. This Monday night, that could be a slugfest. And
It feels like it's going to be a boring game Monday night. They could have had a better game from. Yeah, I agree. But the problem is they put these two teams on Monday night for the ratings. You got the Cowboys and you got Tom Brady. That's why they put these two teams on Monday night.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. You know, the money ratings, that's what drives all this, and where they pick them. So yeah, you know, they could have, but yeah, it is going to be I agree with Hector. This could be a slugfest, a couple turnovers on both sides. But yeah, I'm with you. I trust Tom Brady more than I trust Dak Prescott. I even trust Todd Bowles a little bit more than I do Mike McCarthy right now. Yeah, you know, in your stat about Dak Prescott throwing 7 interceptions throwing interception in his last 7 games. He's thrown 11 total. You know, he threw 15 this year in 12 games.
That led the league, and he missed 5 games.
Yeah, that's not good, obviously. And you know, and again, it's something I wouldn't really expect from him. It just, for whatever reason this year, he hasn't played well. And again, last week they really couldn't get that running game going. The Bucs are decent against the run. I think the Bucs at home, and I know Tom Brady hasn't been the same this year, but every time I could see Tom Brady winning a game, maybe even stealing 2, but you know, I just can't trust the Cowboys. They couldn't do anything in week 1. I know it was week 1, but their offense looked horrible then. I think the Bucs defense plays well, and I think they find a way at home. And I think Dak there was a big interception or 2 in this one and cost the Cowboys.
You talk about that week 1 matchup. That week 1 matchup, the Cowboys were absolutely terrible. They couldn't run the football. They couldn't protect Dak. I think it'll be a little bit different, especially in terms of protecting Dak, because the Bucs didn't have Shaq Barrett. Now the Cowboys have Tyron Smith back. And I'm not saying Tyron Smith is that good anymore, but still, it's an upgrade over what they had in week 1. So I do think they'll protect Dak a little bit, but I don't trust the fact that he's not going to turn the ball over in this game. And I know the Bucs aren't that good, but you're going on the road and you're facing our quarterback that is outstanding. A quarterback that is the best postseason quarterback of all time, hands down, greatest quarterback of all time and greatest postseason quarterback of all time. So, and he's at home. And you knew as a Patriot fan, he lost very, very, very few home playoff games. So really, the one I could remember is that Jets game. Yeah, and that's really the one game I can remember. And the Jets game, and then I think there's only 3 home games he lost. 3 home playoff games he lost. The Jets game, the Titans. Obviously this last game was the Titans, and then that game against the Ravens, where the entire team didn't show up.
Yeah, I don't know what happened that evening. But yeah, Brady's been great at home, in playoffs, and again, he usually doesn't lose very many, first round games, and Vrabel just knew him inside and out in that Titans one, and that's why their offense really struggled in that one. But yeah, Brady's good, and Brady, I know it's not the same guy, but again, I can't see Brady, if this is his last game, and even this year, that he goes out there and just has a complete dud in that offense. Like, you're saying too, it looks like maybe Brady and Evans found something. Maybe that, that week 17 game against the Panthers there. So maybe they finally got something going. It's better late than never. And yeah, it's tough to completely write off Tom Brady. Yeah, it just, every kind of time I know this year more so than in past years, but usually when you write him off, he comes back and he has a monster game. It's like, okay, Tom's back. I know that really hasn't been the case this year, but I can't totally write him off yet. I just can't.
And the big matchup, we brought up Mike Evans. The big matchup in this game is going to be Mike Evans against Trayvon Diggs. I think whoever has the better of that matchup wins this game. I think because the Cowboys are going to play man coverage. Trayvon Diggs is going to be on Mike Evans most of the game. I feel like whoever wins that matchup wins the game.
Yeah, I'm with you. Diggs is better this year. And Evans and thing too. Diggs will kind of play some. Will be physical with him, and Evans sometimes kind of lets that get to his head, and can he kind of control that? Because yeah, if he can get into his head, Evans, maybe he struggles a bit to kind of stay invested in all that. So yeah, if Evans has a big day, I think it's gonna be really tough for the Cowboys. Because Evans, but it's been the drops too this year for Evans, so it's gotta look the ball in and all that, and maybe Diggs finds a way, bounces off Evans' hands to get an interception and, sets up for Dallas. So yeah, absolutely. That's going to be huge match in that game.
And obviously, the last question we got to talk about is this a must-win game for Mike McCarthy? And I'm getting the feeling this is. I think if McCarthy doesn't win this game, he's gone. I don't know if he deserves to be fired because he won 12 games in back-to-back years, but I just get the feeling that if McCarthy loses this game, he is going to get fired.
Yeah, I think so too. Which, yeah, it probably a little bit unfair because Garrett had 9-10 years and he lasted 9 to 10 years, and McCarthy only lasted 2. But that's sports, and that's the Cowboys, and I know who knows. I could see if especially if Jerry thinks he can go out there and go make a run for Sean Payton. I could absolutely see him trying to get rid of McCarthy and try to bring in Payton.
Absolutely. And the reason Garrett stayed there all that long because Gary and Jarrett were boys. I mean, Garrett was like family to that organization. That's why he stayed there as long as he did. But it should be a very, very interesting game Monday night between these two teams. But we got to move on to the last game. This actually will be the first game of the postseason, Saturday afternoon. Let's see what we got for a comment. We got Hector. Wildcard weekend is a rematch for all 6 games. Is that a pattern for what's going to come in the playoffs? And for me, it could be because I got the Giants facing the Eagles in the second round. I got the Bucks facing the Niners in the in the second round. I also got the Chiefs facing the Chargers. The only one I don't have is obviously the Bills-Bengals game. So I think it definitely can be a pattern in the playoffs. Yeah,
I'm with you. It definitely can be, and the way the kind of schedule sets up from the NFL, there's always a kind of possibility that you could, but I don't remember really that all 6 games are a rematch. I don't remember that in recent years ever happening. So absolutely. Next week you could have a couple more, because I think too, like mine through 2, 3 of the 4 games would be a rematch as well. So it's something it totally could be a pattern right now for the NFL. It seems like setting up that way.
Absolutely. So we got to get to the Seahawks and the Niners. The first game on the playoff schedule, they play at 4:30 on Saturday. And I don't think that, even though this is a division game and both teams know each other, I don't think this is going to be much of a game. I think the Niners are going to control the game on the ground with Christian McCaffrey. I think he's definitely going for over 100 yards. I think I know it's going to be a little rainy, but I do think Brock Purdy's going to throw a couple touchdown passes. And I think Geno Smith's gonna throw a couple interceptions. This is just a bad matchup for the Seahawks. The Seahawks defense, and their secondary is pretty good with Woolen, with Diggs, with Neal, but their run defense is absolutely horrendous. And Pete Carroll's done a great job with this team. I mean, Geno Smith has had a really good year with this team. Pete Carroll should be in consideration for Coach of the Year for what he did. I mean, I predicted the Seahawks to win 4 games, so I didn't predict the Seahawks to come close to this point. But I just think the better team, and even Pete said in his press conferences, unfortunately, we're facing the Niners. He knows what's coming on Sunday. I think the Niners win this one, and I think they win this one up by 3 scores. I got the Niners beating the Seahawks 27-10. But Justin, can the third time be the charm for the Seahawks against the Niners?
No, I'm with you. I don't see it happen. I got the Niners as well, 27-13. San Fran's run the ball really effectively all year, and especially against the Seahawks. They went for 189 yards in the first one, 170 a couple weeks ago on Thursday Night Football. So I just don't think Seattle's going to be able to stop the run much at all. And, for Seattle, they've struggled on third down this year offensively, and they're in the bottom half of the league against the Niners team that's been very good all year defensively on third down. So, if third and longs, third and mediums, I think it's to be tough for Seattle to kind of convert. They're going to have to get a lot of third and shorts, and they're going to have to somehow, hope the special teams gets a big play, hope the defense gets a big play, hopefully they hit something on a busted coverage or something like that. They're going to have to try to find a couple ways to get lucky in this game to really have a shot to go to San Francisco. The way Brock Purdy's been playing, I just think it's too much of a uphill battle for the Seahawks to win this game.
Yeah, Brock Purdy, 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 5-0 as a starter. He's playing really, really well for the 49ers. I just don't see it happening. Seattle's had a great year, but as of right now, they just don't have the roster or the quarterback with playoff experience to compete in a game like this.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned it's been a great story for Seattle this year. I was there with you. I think I had 4 or 5 wins for the Seahawks this year. nobody really saw this year coming from him. Pete Carroll's done a really nice job and Geno Smith. It's been great to kind of see his resurgence here this year and have such a great year. But yeah, this is just way too much of a challenge for them. They don't have the talent to they just don't have the experience right now to match up with the Niners. They're just not there yet. I think they got some young guys, but they're just not. They're not ready yet.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally agree. So we'll move on to the AFC. We got a matchup of two of the best young quarterbacks in football as Justin Herbert faces Trevor Lawrence, and I think this is a rematch of a game that the Chargers won, that the Jags won 38-10 in Week 3. But the problem with that game is Bosa got hurt in that game. Justin Herbert was banged up in that game. I think this game is going to be a completely different game. This is going to be a really, really close game. I do think the Jaguars are going to move the ball with Travis Etienne. I think he has a big game on the ground. I mean, the Chargers have a lot of trouble stopping the run, and I think that continues this week. But I think the difference in this game is going to be when the Chargers and Jags get down to the red zone. I think the Chargers pass rush is going to get pressure on Lawrence, and it's going to force the Jaguars to kick field goals. And I think when the Chargers get into the red zone, I think they're going to score touchdowns. And there is a chance they might be without Mike Williams, but I think the biggest weapon in this game is going to be Austin Eckler. I think he's going to be if Allen's getting taken, if the Jags focus on Allen, I think Herbert is going to look to Eckler a lot in this game, especially get matchups against those Jaguar linebackers who are not great in coverage. I think he's going to have a couple. I think he's going to have a couple touchdown receptions. I think Herbert is going to throw a couple touchdown passes. I think this is a close, competitive game. It comes right down to the end. But I got the Chargers beating the Jaguars in a close one, 27-23. But Justin, can the Jags sweep the Chargers this year?
I get the Chargers 24-21. I think they got a chance in this one, but I think for Jacksonville, their secondary's got to show up. They were 27th against the pass this year. Justin Herbert's going to spread it around, and they're going to be able to rack up some yardage in this one. For Jacksonville, it's been a really good year for him. It's been nice to see Lawrence really kind of form the guy that we thought he would. But it went shot. For something for Jacksonville too. The Chargers have only beaten one team this year that's in the playoffs, and that's the Dolphins. And, I could very easily see the Chargers and Brandon Staley just beat themselves going on some dumb fourth down, in a bad spot. I could see them doing something like that, and momentum sparks at Jacksonville, and they find a way to win this game. But I just think Herbert right now, and that offense just has a little bit too much for Jacksonville. And I think they're able to do enough offensively against that secondary. And they find a way to get by Jacksonville this week.
You talked about Brandon Staley. I think there's just like Mike McCarthy, I think Brandon Staley could be coaching for his job this week. If they lose a game where the Chargers beat themselves, I think the Chargers might move on from Brandon Staley, especially again with Sean Payton out there. I think there's a very good chance that the Chargers lose this game. They move on from Brandon Staley. Seeing what he did last week. Now, as for the Bucs, I felt like they should have played their starters. The Chargers, really, after the Ravens lost, there was no reason to play their starters because they were playing well going into the playoffs. They had won 4 straight games. So they didn't need to play their starters against the Broncos. They did, and they might not have Mike Williams this week.
Yeah, that was another bad decision by him. I don't really know why starting him there. There was nothing to really gain from that. So yeah, it was just not a good call from him. And as you talk about Staley, I could totally see him be gone. I read an article, this is back in October, November. That's the job that Sean Payton is eyeing, is that Charger job. So I know he just interviewed for the Broncos one, but back in October, November, I did read that he wants the Charger wants like the number one for him. So absolutely, if they move on from Staley, seems like they got a shot for Sean Payton if they want him.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and this is just a game. This is a game I feel like the Chargers are definitely under more pressure to win is because the Chargers put this team together to not lose in the first round. They put this team together to contend for the Super Bowl. They went out and traded for Khalil Mack to contend for the Super Bowl. So this is there's definitely much more pressure on the Chargers to win this game than there is on the Jaguars.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The Jaguars, really came out of nowhere this year. I know that division's not great, and that did help, but I thought they were playing really well down the stretch here. And it's the fan base, too, that, they're just happy to be in here. Again, expectations are going to start to grow there. But, yeah, for that Chargers team, that team was built team was built to, but you mentioned win a Super Bowl this year. You know, Herbert's been really well his first couple years in the league. They got a ton of weapons offensively. You know, it's a team that, it's built to get by at least Jacksonville and, you know, go win a couple and try to get to a Super Bowl. It's the team on paper that, you know, they got as much talent as anybody in the AFC, but can they really put all together? And, you know, and the coaching too has kind of has hurt them at times too. So and injuries, I know they've been bitten by the injury bug as well, but it's a team that was built to win a Super Bowl this year.
Absolutely. And for the Jaguars, just a great year. Doug Peterson, just like with the Giants with Brian Daboll, Doug Peterson has definitely changed the culture. And with Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence had a good year, and he's proven to be the guy and clearly the best quarterback in the 2021 draft class.
Yeah, he has. He's really turned the corner this year. And Peterson's done wonders for Lawrence and really helping his development. It's a shame what Urban Meyer did in that team last year, because, you know, it's been a different team this year. And Peterson's done an amazing job. Daboll as well. There's probably 10, 11 candidates you can say for Coach of the Year. It's nuts how many guys you can vote for this year for Coach of the Year. Peterson's gonna be up on that list. So you know, I think this is just the beginning of something starting here for Jacksonville.
Absolutely. So we got to get to the 1:00 game on Sunday, and that's the Dolphins traveling to Buffalo to face the Bills. And this might be the most lopsided game of the weekend because of the breaking news, or because of the news we just heard that Tua is not cleared. He won't play in this game. There's a good chance Teddy Bridgewater won't play in this game. So it looks like it's going to be Skylar Thompson. And if you watched Skylar Thompson last week against the Jets, they couldn't even score a touchdown, an offensive touchdown in that game, in a game they desperately needed to win. I think it's going to be a very, very rough day for Skylar Thompson. I think he's going to turn the ball over a couple times, and I think Josh Allen's going to throw a couple of touchdown passes. I got the Bills winning this game at home, and I got the Bills winning this game going away. I got the Bills winning this game 30-10 over the Dolphins. But Justin, can the Dolphins get their second win against the Bills this year?
I don't see it either. Now, I had the score originally 23-14, thinking maybe Teddy would play. I didn't think there was any shot Tua was going to play, because it's been 3 concussions pretty much for him this year. So I didn't think there's any way he was going to go out there. But now I think this is closer to a 3-score game. As you mentioned, Thompson couldn't do anything last week against that Jets defense. I don't imagine him having much success at all this weekend, especially if they fall behind. You know, they really haven't run the ball either well this year. So I see this is, it's already up. I think the line's up to 13 already now after this news. So it's already jumped, and it may even climb even higher. So I think this is going to be a tough one for the Dolphins. They're going to have to get a couple turnovers. The Bills have played better in the red zone the last couple weeks. They're going to have to try to muck it up like they did, you know, back in Miami when they won that game. But now being in the playoffs, I can't see that happen this week. I don't see their defense being able to stay on the field for 40 minutes and trying to keep their team in this one.
Not at all. I think this game is a complete blowout. I can't see the Bills losing this game at all. No,
especially with everything going on, the way they played last week. Right now, the Bills them, Cincy and KC right now are in a total mission, and you pick either one of those three. It could be a very long day for Miami, especially being up in that cold too, and you're getting beat too. It's gonna be a long afternoon for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's going to be a very, very difficult game for the Dolphins to win. Now, talking about Cincinnati, they will host the Ravens in the first round of the playoffs, and we'll see what happens with Lamar. And Lamar right now is questionable. There definitely is a good chance he's not going to play. But Anthony Brown won't start. Tyler Huntley will start if that happens. But in this game, I don't think it's going to matter, because even if Lamar plays, it's been a month since he's played. It's just going to be very, very hard for me to see him keep up with Joe Burrow in this game. I do think the Ravens defense, though, keeps this game close, and I do think they shut down the running game of the Bengals, which has not been that good this year. Joe Mixon has not had that good of a year. But the difference in this game is going to be the Bengals passing game. I think the weather's not terrible in Cincinnati, and I think the Bengals passing game, I think this will be a close game in the first half. I think it's going to be a close game all the way through, but I think the difference in the game is I do think the Ravens move the ball, but they'll kick field goals, and I think the Bengals will score a touchdown. And I think the big reason is because of the passing game for the Bengals is much better than the passing game for the Ravens, and I think that's going to be the difference in this game. I do think the Ravens will have a shot at the end, but I think just like last year, that Bengals defense will make the stop when it needs to, and I got the Bengals advancing to the second round, beating the Ravens 24-16. But Justin, can the Ravens beat the Bengals for the second time this year?
I don't see it either. I got the Bengals 24-17. Yeah, I read this morning. It sounds like it's to be an uphill battle for Jackson to play. So it doesn't seem like he's gonna play. Give it, it sounds like he's not gonna be able to go this weekend. And yeah, the rust factor is gonna be there for not playing for over a month. And the Ravens defense, the secondary hasn't been great all year, but I thought in the two matchups this year, they've done a pretty good job against Joe Burrow in that offense. He hasn't absolutely torched them. So I think Baltimore, their defense is going to come to play. Can they get enough stops? I think they've been pretty good against the run, so it'll make Cincinnati one-dimensional. But yeah, I just, with Tyler Huntley starting, I don't see any way how Baltimore is going to be able to outscore Joe Burrow in that Bengals offense. It's going to be very difficult, and they're going to need Cincinnati to kind of shoot themselves in the foot multiple times, and I just don't see that happening this week.
No, and the thing is if the only way that the Ravens win this game is if Lamar starts. I just don't see Tyler Huntley beating the Bengals, beating Joe Burrow in a playoff game.
No, the couple weeks ago the Ravens, they got 3 points on the road at Cleveland, and Cleveland just fired their defensive coordinator. I can't see them going in there and being able to score enough points in this game to have any chance to knock them off this week.
Yeah, really. I don't think they've gotten to 20 points since Lamar Jackson has gotten hurt, because he got hurt in the Cleveland. He got hurt in the game against Denver, and in the game against the Steelers, they only scored 16. In the game against the Browns, they only scored 3. In the game against the Falcons, they only scored 17. In the game against the Steelers, they only scored 16. And in the game against the Bengals, they only scored 16. So they have not gotten to 20 points since Lamar has been out. And if you can't get to 20 points against this Bengals team, you're not going to win the game. So there is no way the Bengals will win if Tyler Huntley starts.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, they haven't. There's just no way that they've not been able to put up points. And yeah, against this offense or against that Bengals, you're gonna have to keep up a little bit. And yeah, I don't see it happen this week. That Denver defense is playing pretty well too. They've been pretty good this year. So I don't see any chance that the Ravens, where their offense by themselves score over 20 points. I mean, they can get there with a special teams touchdown or defense touchdown, but themselves, there's no chance that they score 20 points or more.
Yeah, no chance at all. No chance at all. So we're going to talk about some of the coaching carousel in the NFL, and we're going to start with a disgraceful hiring from the Houston Texans. Another disgraceful hiring. If you thought last year was bad, this was even more disgraceful. The Texans fire Lovie Smith after one season, having the worst roster in football. They did the same thing with David Culley last year. What are they doing? Giving coaches 1 year. It makes absolutely no sense. You cannot grow a program firing a coach after 1 year. You're now going to have your fourth different head coach in 4 years. Caserio has been a total disaster as the general manager of the Texans, and they need to think about firing him because there's no stability. You can't win in this league with continuing to change coaches year after year after year. And I know last year they wanted to hire Josh McCown, but it wasn't a good look for the league. So I mean the Texans is just an absolute mess of an organization, and I feel bad for whoever, if CJ Stroud has got to go there or Bryce Young, because that organization is the worst in the league right now.
Yeah, it's a total train wreck. The only thing Sarah hasn't done well there is accumulate some draft picks. That's about it. That's about all. Yeah, you mentioned, I forgot about the McCown stuff. That may be why. Hey, not they feel like maybe blows over into this year, and they're gonna hire him now. Maybe that's their thinking. I don't know, but I would go. The Texans. I don't get it. Because why would you hire Lovey for just 1 year here and then get rid of him? But it's the same thing with Coley last year. Just why don't you just keep him? It makes total no sense. The Texans. Again, them and the Broncos are, I think, the two worst kind of where they are positioned right now in the league. they're right there. And I feel bad, for whatever quarterback shot or Young goes there, because it's going to be rough. And maybe, Mechie comes back, hopefully next year, keep healthy. And but yeah, just right now, it's a horrible look for the Texans. It's not shocking because they've done stuff like this, in the past. You just don't know what they're doing at times.
Yeah, if you don't want to hire the coach, don't hire the coach then. Don't hire him. If you don't want to hire him, don't hire him. Don't just hire him for 1 year and then fire him. It makes you look terrible. It just makes you look incompetent. And this organization is just flat out incompetent.
Yeah, they have been. I know they've had some playoff teams and get in the league, but yeah, it's just, it seems like front office, they have no idea what they want to do, what kind of, direction they want to go with the coaches. It's not good. You don't even, especially, you go to college now, I know coaches are getting fired in 2 years, but it's like, it's tough to really, make a guy, it's tough to build a culture in 1 year. Some guys can do it, some can't, but especially a roster like that, it's going to take more than 1 year to build a culture.
Absolutely. So now we'll go to another coach who got fired on Monday, and that is Cliff Kingsbury. I think we saw this one coming. We completely saw this one coming. I mean, this you didn't like this hire from the beginning. I started to buy into this hire, a couple of years that he was in, but I started to question it when they started to collapse last year, and then this year we kind of knew it was over for him. You saw the spats with Kyler Murray and him on the sidelines. It was not a good situation in Arizona at all this year. And this was a guy that was under 500 in college that got a coaching job, and they fired a coach after 1 year, a coach that has actually done really well in Carolina, who I think should have a chance to get that job now. And Steve Wilkes, they fired Steve Wilkes after 1 year to hire this guy. Poor move by the entire organization.
Yeah, it's a horrible look right now. That hire at the time, again, it's the same things I saw at Texas Tech. Hot start, just has no idea how to close out a game. I've said it multiple times. Brilliant offensive mind blocks out everything else, I think, around him in the football game. That you can't be a head coach like that. It was horrible. Yeah, him and Murray in the sidelines. Again, I don't know. I know he got the playoffs last year, but come on, the way they finished, how do you give him an extension the way he finished the way they lost in that playoff game?
Horrible. And of course, they hand their quarterback an extension too, even though the quarterback deserves it more than him. They were just handing out extensions like crazy last year, and look at what happened. They had a disastrous season for this team, 4-13. But they had, outside of the Bears, they had the second worst record in the NFC. So yeah, and the thing is with Kingsbury, as we were talking about the Texans, if the Texans don't trade, imagine the Texans don't trade DeAndre Hopkins to the Cardinals, he's probably gone. He probably doesn't even stay 4 years as an NFL head coach.
No, actually, I forgot about that. Yeah, he's probably not. He's probably gone last year. I don't think they make the playoffs last year without him. So, yeah, he probably would have been gone in 3 years. Because he had some big games last year for him. It's just, that Kingsbury, that offense, especially this year, they just never really figured it out. I know Hopkins, was, suspended. Murray going down with the ACL injury. But yeah, it just seems like, that it just ran its course. And yeah, Arizona, total whiff on that one. I understood why they tried it, but it's just, again, you just saw Texas Tech. He blocks out everything besides the offense, it feels like. And again, that's why he's a very good offensive coordinator. He does not know how to, cannot be a head coach. Can't.
Absolutely. Yeah, he definitely was not a good head coach for the Cardinals. But
actually,
what did you say?
I'll say this quickly. Yeah. I take him to be the Patriots offensive coordinator.
Oh, yeah, right now, absolutely. No question. And he has a connection to Belichick. He was on that 2003 team. So absolutely, I would definitely think about taking him as the offensive coordinator of the Patriots. He's not a good head coach, but he would be much better than Matt Patricia, and he would get much more out of Mac Jones than Matt Patricia did.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'd love to have a guy like that. So I'll take him to OC. I know I destroy him, but if he wants to come on and be the OC, fine with me. I'll take him any day of the week. I'd like to see what we can do with our offense. Can't get much worse.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, your offense was absolutely terrible this year, and that's the reason why the Patriots missed the playoffs. But Carlos Correa has found a home. He's going back to his old team. But before we talk about that, We're going to hear from friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEG's Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
So the Carlos Correa has finally found a home. I know he's going back to the Minnesota Twins on a 6-year, $200 million deal. And the big story here is not the Twins, it's the Mets, who spent a lot of time trying to re-sign him. And they're trying to sign him. They thought they had him. They had concerns about his ankle, and now they end up losing him. And this is kind of disappointing for them. I know, it might help them in the long run, but in the short term, this is disappointing for them because they missed out on Rendon. They missed out on signing Chris Bax, who they could have signed. And right now, the big question is where are the Mets in the NL East? And I think it's clear they're the third best team in the division.
Yeah, I'm with you. I had them first, but now I got to go third. I think Correa, the big loss. Now you got to start Eduardo Escobar over that third, or Brett Brady, one of their top third base prospects. So. I think this kind of shifts them to third with the Braves and the Phillies. Even with Harper being out till right around July, I still think it'll be tough for the team to finish third. It's, as we've talked about a lot the last couple of weeks, it's a tough to. And at least it's a really tough division. That's gonna be a battle, and I think it. And you got Scherzer and Verlander, but they're both 40. I don't know if you can expect them both to make. I know they've been usually pretty healthy, but I don't know if you can bank on and make 30 starts each.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they both will probably have trouble staying healthy. And you look at the lineup, the Braves lineup. I know they lost Dansby Swanson, but that's still better. And the Phillies lineup with Bryce Harper. I know he's going to miss some time, but with Bryce Harper might be the best in baseball. So I think they're behind those two teams. And I think right now in the NL, I think they make the playoffs, but they're either the second or the third wild card. I think there's a very easy chance. There's a good chance their season will end the way it did last year.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah, I think they sneak in, get one of the wild card spots, but yeah, I don't see them going anywhere. Maybe if you got Verlander 1-2 and they're both on their game, absolutely, I could see them move on. But yeah, even if they do, I don't see them getting past the division series. I think I don't see that happening. So yeah, I think more than likely the wild card they get knocked out, but I could see them finding a way to get there to the division series, but not going any farther.
Now, looking at the Twins angle on this, and the big question for them is are they the best team in the AL Central with them coming back? And I don't think so. I still think the Guardians are. The Twins didn't improve their team. It's pretty much the same thing. They're pretty much the same team. Getting Correa. They would have been worse if they didn't have Correa because they didn't end up signing Dansby Swanson or Xander Bogaerts. So I think right now, the Twins are still not the best team in the AL Central. That's the Guardians.
No, I'm with you. I got Guardians 1, White Sox 2. Yeah, they brought in, Vasquez at catcher, Joey Gallows, we had a new left fielder. But yeah, Gio's a free agent. They haven't brought him back yet. And I don't, first base, I think, I forget who's going to be their first baseman this year. So Eric Kirilloff's going to be the first baseman. So I don't really like that. Yeah, the Twins team. Sonny Gray had a nice year, and Joe Ryan did at the 1-2 spots in the rotation. But yeah, I think they're the third best team right now in the AL Central.
And the big question is, are they a playoff team? I don't think they are either. You look at the AL East; they might get 4 teams in the playoffs. With the Yankees, Rays, and Blue Jays, and the Orioles could get to the playoffs this year. And then you look at the West; they definitely are going to have the Astros, probably the Mariners again, and then Texas did a lot this offseason too to improve their team. So I think right now, I don't think the Twins are a playoff team either.
No, I'm there with you as well. The Rangers, I think we'll pass them this year. Yeah, I think right now I put them at 9 right now in the American League. I think Texas and Tampa Bay in those last 2 spots in the wild, or Tampa 7 and Texas 8. I don't think they have enough right now. And yeah, I know they're White Sox and Cleveland to be tough in their division. So yeah, I don't I see that team being a couple games under 500, and obviously that won't be enough for them to get in.
Yeah, it definitely won't be. So we'll wrap up the show talking about Georgia winning its second straight national title on Monday night as they crushed TCU 65-7. And looking at that game, Georgia dominated the whole way. I am a little bit critical of the way TCU played that game. I think they didn't make any adjustments on defense when Georgia was moving the ball up and down the field on them. That 3-3-5, they needed to adjust. They needed to get a 4th guy on the line of scrimmage. If you're going to beat a team like Georgia, you got to make adjustments. You can't just do what you did. You got to make adjustments. And I just didn't think the TCU made really any adjustments. And I didn't think they ran the ball enough to start the game. I think they got scared without Kendre Miller that they couldn't run the ball against Georgia. So they wanted to do what Ohio State did. Well, the difference is Ohio State has C.J. Stroud and Marvin Harrison Jr. And they have more depth at receiver than you. You don't have the depth at receiver that they have, and you don't have the quarterback that they have. So I thought it was a poor game plan on offense by TCU to start, and I think TCU didn't make adjustments, and that resulted in a blowout. You texted me when TCU was going up and down, when Georgia was going up and down the field. If they don't make an adjustment, they're going to get up 100 points. And if Georgia wanted to, they probably would have scored 100 points.
Yeah, I don't know if you listened to Kirby Smart pregame meeting with the team like right before we went out there. I'm surprised they didn't. And for what he was saying, I'm surprised they didn't put up 100 on him. But yeah, you're telling too about that 3-3-5 defense, which is they didn't seem to. That's why I know. So I'll save what I'm about to say for kind of the next part or the next question. But yeah, Georgia just absolutely throttled them. They did whatever they wanted. They could have absolutely put up 100 on them. I'm like, their backups were doing. Their backups were moving up and down the field on them with ease, and yeah, Duggan just didn't even say it. The minute he got the snap, there was 3 guys in his faces. There was just not much for him to do. He's all over the place, and yeah, they couldn't really get the ball. They shut down Quentin Johnson. They didn't stand a chance in that one. Georgia, Brock Bowers was unbelievable. Bennett played really well, but yeah, as you mentioned, that 3-3-5, there was nobody in his face all day. He seriously had all day, and he took off a couple of times, and a couple of rushing touchdowns for him. So yeah, the Georgia team just absolutely throttled them, and yeah, thing wasn't even close. I thought TCU could put up some points, but man, that you can see very early they did not stand a chance in that game, and that thing got ugly quick.
Yeah, and I think the big question is for Georgia, have they surpassed Alabama as the best program in college football? And I'm going to say no. I still think Alabama is the best program in college football because I know Alabama didn't win the national championship the last 2 years, or even I think they have one national title in the last 5 years. But in 2018, they got to the national championship game. In 2021, they got to the national championship game. And this year, they lost 2 games to 2 SEC schools on the road by 1 point and on a game-winning field goal. I still think that Alabama is still the best program in college football, but Georgia is second. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And Pollock saying that right next to Nick Saban winning. I think it was right.
That was the most interesting thing. Yeah, that was the most interesting thing from the game.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was. I mean, I think Saban's ready to give him a haymaker on that one. But
yeah.
Yeah, I still got Bama again. Yeah, they lost the 2 games this year, and then also again last year, Jameson Williams doesn't tear his ACL. That was a difference maker in that game.
I think they would have won that game against Georgia.
Yeah, yeah. So Alabama possibly wins that one, and then like even it'd be one. So it'd be like Georgia's first one, but I'm right. But I'm also with Georgia's the future college football. Whenever Saban is ready to retire, because I think he's 70 now. I believe he just turned 70 in October. Georgia's going to be the future of college football.
Yeah. Listen, when Saban leaves, I will say they are. But as long as Nick Saban's there, and Bama plays at a high level, and Bama is still playing at a high level. It's not like the Patriots when Brady left, when they went from a great team to an average team. Bama is still a top program in college football. So yeah, right now I still think Bama is. But once Saban retires, I'd put Georgia as the number one program.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with them, and Bama I think just signed their best class ranking wise of all time too. So yeah, they're not going anywhere. Again, if Saban can go find a wide receiver that's a difference maker that can kind of really go stretch the field this offseason, then yeah, Alabama's gonna be right back there. We'll see what Milrose got, but I especially after Pollock's comments, Nick Saban next year is going to be ready to absolutely blast anybody in front of him. And Georgia's schedule, I think that very good chance that'll be a collision course in Atlanta because it's Georgia's schedule.
And let me tell you, Saban has that game circled on his schedule because he hasn't played them since he lost them in the national title game. That game is circled on Nick Saban's schedule. And let me tell you, this year, he is not – and let me tell you, coming in next year, he is not going to let Alabama not play in that game. He is going to make sure Alabama is there playing Georgia in that SEC title game.
Oh, yeah. Maybe this offseason is a little bit too much on Jimbo. Maybe the Jimbo kind of stuff, took over a little bit.
National title game, there might have been a hangover there too.
Yep, that's possible too. So, and yeah, now the way they played in the Sugar Bowl, that's the best game they played all year. Yeah. I expect Alabama next year to just be back to the Alabama we've always known. And that game next year, hopefully we get in the SEC championship game. Will be a great one. Yeah, I think right now Alabama is just still kind of at the top of the hill sitting there, but Georgia's been gaining ground the last couple of years. Kirby Smart's done an unbelievable job.
Absolutely.
A lot of these Nick Saban assistants lately haven't been great, but Smart's been one of the better
outstanding. Outstanding. And the thing is not just the last 2 years. I mean, you go back to 2017, he was very close to winning that national title. 2018, he lost that tough SEC title game. He just couldn't get over the Bama hump. But once they got over that Bama hump, they've been outstanding. They've been unbeatable.
Yeah, they have. Because they just it was just like he got the Kirby one first couple times they played Bama. Yeah, it's like Kirby kind of got his own head. It was trying to do too much to beat him. And after it was, and he finally I think just got to the talent level. It was like I don't have to do some of that stuff like that. And he's just they've kind of just steamrolled. Even though I don't like. I don't know. I think it was Jalen Carter was saying is like, people were saying we're going with 7-5. We had to prove them wrong. I'm like,
oh, stop it.
You said you were going 7-5.
Stop it. You people had you. I don't think they had you winning the national title, but they had you in Atlanta playing Alabama this year in the preseason. Come on, stop it with that whole thing. Maybe they had you losing to maybe Kentucky or Tennessee. No, they had you losing those games. They had you going undefeated and playing and going to Atlanta. Come on now, 7-5. Give me a break.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't buy that one. I don't know who told you guys that, but yeah, it just they just steamrolled again. I guess they use that as some motivation. I don't know where they got that from, but they didn't. Yeah, Kirby's just done an unbelievable job. But yeah, Alabama still got to be the cream of the crop. Smart's done an unbelievable job. And again, and Smart too kind of said today or yesterday, he's like, we're gonna make some changes. We're gonna continue to adjust because. You gotta be able to adjust, and I think that's a big thing of where some of these coaches, Jimbo Fisher, Exhibit A, you got to develop, and he actually brought in Viper Trino, so that'll be very interesting, relationship at College Station. But that's the thing, you always gotta adjust, and I think too that's been a huge part of how Smart's kind of last couple of years. It seems it's just steamrolling everybody that's in the way.
Exactly. Now, one final question is: did TCU belong in that game? And I'm going to say yes. Now, if they got crushed to Michigan in the semifinal, I'd say they didn't belong. They wouldn't have belonged in the playoff. but they beat Michigan in one of the best college football games of the year. That was just a really, really, really bad day for TCU. It was a great year that ended on a really bad day. I personally think, yes, they did belong in that game. It was just a really, really bad really, really bad day for TCU. But I think they belonged in the game. Like saying the Broncos didn't belong in the Super Bowl when they played the Seahawks. I mean, they just had a terrible game, and I just think for TCU, the moment was just too big for them.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, I think they definitely deserve there. Again, that semifinal game, you know, they had 4 or 5 guys that's ever played in a bowl game. Like they just, a lot of those guys just did not, you know, the moment was just too big. I think, you know, it was too overwhelming for him, and you know, Georgia just suffocated him. You know, and I know people were upset, but it's like be mad at Michigan then, because
Michigan's got to beat
Michigan
them.
could have done the same thing Georgia did. That's what I didn't get.
Exactly. Yeah. Beat them. Michigan should have beat them. Beat them.
Yeah.
Beat them.
They should have. I don't understand why they you know, they for whatever reason they just didn't have a good game plan. And I think it was a bad day for TCU. And I know people are out there saying Alabama's got the 4, but it's like you want to say that, but Alabama didn't look like the 4th best team all year. You can't say that. Like you can't put them in because you think they are. That's not really how this thing's supposed to work. So I think TCU was deserving. Again, Big 12 is a good from top to bottom. That's a great. Again, it's depth-wise is better than the SEC. It absolutely is.
I think the SEC is a little bit deeper, but you have a point with like depth-wise is better than the Big Ten.
Yeah,
I would say that.
Yeah, the depth-wise, because I guess the SEC's got like 7 or 8. The only thing is, I could see like if you put some of those Big 12 teams in the SEC, I think they'd have 6 or 7 ranked weekly as well. But I just again they don't have a doormat in that conference in the Big 12, you know, because Kansas was good this year. So I think they proved their way that they deserve to be in there. But yeah, it was a bad day. It was just a totally bad matchup for TCU. And you could just see they just didn't have the speed, or they just didn't have the guys up front to really bother Georgia. And it was just they didn't have the athletes that Ohio State did, as you mentioned, where they could go up down the field with them and be able to score. They just didn't.
They absolutely didn't. They absolutely didn't. But still a phenomenal season for TCU. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We will be back next week talking about the divisional round of the playoffs and any NBA news or college basketball news that comes our way.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley. And Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this. They lob it to him. He taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach of college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3. He's done his part.
Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees aren't even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.